the matter now?
How do they walk in these things, huh? How do they keep their balance?
Must be the way the weight is distributed. Now, come on.
It is so drafty. They must be catching cold all the time, huh?
Will you quit stalling? We're going to miss the train.
I feel naked. I feel like everybody's staring at me.
With those legs, are you crazy? Now, come on.
Some Like It Hot is a film that came out in 1959 that's written and directed by Billy Wilder. So Some Like It Hot is a $50 Patreon request that comes from Mitchy. And for those of y'all who know Mitchy at this point, y'all know that he's no other than my friend from a land down under. And I was really excited that he requested Some Like It Hot because Billy Wilder has been a bit of a blind spot for me. I only recently saw my first Billy Wilder film last November, which was The Apartment. And I thought that film was fantastic. I don't have a review on it or anything. Maybe one day I will. But I really love that film. It impressed me on all fronts. The writing, direction, the cinematography, the acting, everything was spectacular. So, me loving The Apartment, I was really interested in seeing some of his other films. And luckily, Mitchy came through with a Some Like It Hot request. And after watching Some Like It Hot, I love this movie to death, as to no surprise to anybody. Because kind of like The Apartment, I feel like every phase of filmmaking here is quite fantastic. I mean, the writing, the direction, the cinematography, this film overall feels like a very timeless piece, which is incredibly impressive considering the fact that the content here is pretty boundary pushing, especially for the time. I mean, to have a comedy that's centering around two men cross-dressing, you would think that a film in the 1950s that revolves around this type of concept would have a lot of dated aspects to it. But surprisingly, it doesn't. It's incredibly tasteful, and it's tasteful without really playing it safe either. Like, it's not a film that, is without edge. It's a film that's able to poke fun at gender roles while being self-aware and quite intelligent about it, because this is a film that's filled with all kinds of different attempts at humor. It's a film that's able to poke fun at gender roles in a way that feels self-aware and intelligent, and most importantly, actually funny. Pretty much all the comedy in this film really lands, and I just found the entire film to be a laugh ride. I mean, this is a really entertaining film, and a lot of that is due to how the film's written, but also the way it's acted. The acting in this film is all around fantastic. Jack Lemmon is probably my favorite performance in this film. I haven't seen him in enough movies, to be honest with you. He was in The Apartment, and I heard that he's in a lot of other Billy Wilder films, and he was fantastic in The Apartment, and he is spectacular here as well. From the handful of performances that I've seen from Jack Lemmon, he's just able to deliver this high energy and kind of animated performance. Like every single scene, he just gives so much emotion to and so much energy. And overall, that's something that I've actually noticed about Billy Wilder films in general, at least from the two that I've seen, is that there is this kind of cartoony aspect to them, but it's done in like the best way possible to where it doesn't feel over the top, but it's just enough to kind of give this faster paced aspect to the film while also having humor in it that really works. Because one of my favorite scenes in Some Like It Hot is that scene that happens on the train where Jack Lemmon's character is trying to just have a private party with Marilyn Monroe's character, and through the most rapid word of mouth I've ever seen, all the women on the train end up having a party in his bed, and like there's just like body parts going everywhere, and it's a very cartoony element to the film, but I just think it works so incredibly well. And again, it's able to play with the stereotypes that we have about women in a way that is tasteful and quite funny. And the running joke of this film, where you have the two male characters that are cross-dressing as women, surprisingly holds up throughout the entire film. You would think that a concept like that, the joke would kind of just run dry and get old, but for some reason, it's really hilarious to see these two men act in a way that they think women act throughout the entire film. And for some reason, that shit is just gold. And it's probably just funny because it just constantly shows what we think we know and don't know about the opposite sex. And I gotta be honest, Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon as women, they look pretty good. They actually look pretty damn good. And in terms of the production of this film, I read that this film was originally supposed to be in color, but the makeup on Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis's face had like this green tint to it that looked horrendous. So they basically had to shoot it in black and white. And after seeing the film, I can say that it was a pretty good choice because, as I said, I think they look good. But I think the funniest scene to me in this film personally is a scene that occurs in the third act that has to do with this build up to somebody jumping out of a birthday cake. And that entire, like, mob scene and the dialogue that was given to this particular character, it killed me. I thought it was consistently hilarious and somehow just got funnier the more it was built up. But yeah, I thought it was written and delivered to perfection. I really dug it. And we have to talk about Marilyn Monroe in this film. I don't think I've ever seen Marilyn Monroe in an actual film before. So for me, this is the first time I've ever seen Marilyn Monroe act in a film. And she's really great for what she's there for, because she's basically there, again, to be the sex icon. She's there for her sex appeal, and the film is incredibly self-aware of that, which is why I think it works a lot better. But she's gorgeous. I mean, Marilyn Monroe and gorgeous at this point are just synonymous. And I really like the way that her character is written in this film, because even though there's a huge element to her character that's incredibly superficial and cliched, just in regards to what she wants out of a man that mostly has to do with wealth, they at least give her some sort of complexity in different ways. One of the ways being the fact that she basically carries bourbon with her everywhere she goes, and she basically drinks her sorrows away for a lot of different reasons. And it just shows that she's not just this innocent / hypersexual person that the media presents her to be. And I also really dug the introduction to her character as well, because when she's first introduced in the film, you see her walking down the subway station, and as the camera is kind of emphasizing on her backside, as she's walking away, you see this powerful, like, propulsion of exhaust just, like, jab her in the side. And I thought that was kind of like a funny, ironic homage to the iconic subway grate image. And I also really like the fact that since these men have to cross-dress as women the entire film, they're basically forced to see what women have to go through in their everyday life, mostly in terms of the amount of harassment that they have to deal with from men. And I like the way it was able to shed light on the subject, because it doesn't really come off as trying to be preachy, but a lot of it is used for the sake of humor, but in a way that's not at the expense of women, but more as just an honest depiction of a huge element of women's lives. And the whole nobody's perfect closing line to this film is hilarious, brilliant, and iconic. And what's really interesting about this line as well is that it was kind of a filler line. Wilder originally wanted to go with the line, "I know," but apparently that was considered too suggestively strong for the time. So they put "Nobody's Perfect" there as a filler line, and it just stuck. And it ended up being one of the most iconic closing lines to any film ever. One thing that I will say about this film is that in terms of Tony Curtis's character, first of all, I gotta say, I think Jack Lemmon got the lower end of the stick here, because Tony Curtis's character gets to make out with Marilyn Monroe for an extensive period of time in this film. But Tony Curtis's character basically does something incredibly sleazy to kind of get into Marilyn Monroe's pants. And I feel like he didn't really learn anything from that. I feel like it's kind of, brushed off and glazed over really quick. And Marilyn Monroe kind of forgives him instantly. I mean, Marilyn Monroe technically learned something, but I don't know, like, with something that sociopathic and manipulative happens, and it's not really, I understand it's a comedy, and I'm not really supposed to, look that deeply into it, but I just feel like that could have been addressed a little bit more than the way it was. But either way, I really love this film. I think it's fantastic all around. Incredibly impressive stuff, very timeless in terms of how it looks, and also how it handles its themes. So I'm going to give Some Like It Hot a soft 9 out of 10.
Running wild.
It's truly a fantastic and hilarious film. I cannot wait to buy this on the Criterion Collection. I just recently came out with a video called 10 more films that demand Criterion releases, so if you haven't checked that out yet, please do. And that's all I gotta say about Some Like It Hot. If you really enjoyed what I had to say about the film, please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.